Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Covenant Army Podcast, where our mission is to equip couples to align with God and win the daily battle, raging against marriage and family. I am Brent, and I'm here again with my beautiful wife, Miss Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
We're so excited that you guys are with us today. Remember, like, share, subscribe right now. We'll do it right now so you don't forget, because we need to help. Well, you can help us spread this mission. Because, guys, remember, it's not just about us. It's about the whole community wanting to push God's kingdom forward. Standing for marriage and standing for God and standing for families. So, the topic I want to talk about today, babe. Passwords in marriage. Passwords in marriage.
That's always a fun one.
Is it fun?
It's always fun.
What do you find fun about it exactly?
Because it's interesting how many people want to be 100% committed and transparent, but still keep certain things secret. It doesn't make sense.
So you think having a password is keeping something secret?
Depends what you're keeping the password for. Like, if you have a password to protect from outside folks getting into your stuff, that's different, right?
Okay.
Like you have a password for your email.
Well, I have a password on my phone.
Yeah, but I have that password as well.
Okay. I got a password on my computer.
I got that one too.
Okay. I got a passcode on my bank card.
I got that one too.
Okay. I see where you're going with this.
So I don't understand how you get transparency in a relationship, 100% transparency, but still there's certain things that a spouse won't give to their spouse. Passwords, like phone passwords or social media passwords, or, some of those are the ones that we hear about that people are just like, well, no, that's like my stuff. That's my personal stuff.
Okay.
Just personal. Like, you get married, you become one.
Well, yes, you do. And I want to talk about passwords because a lot of times we hear in our line of work that people have issues with sharing passwords on their phone, specifically. That's where we hear it the most nowadays. And it is always perplexing when we hear it, like, okay, why? There's always a question of why. Because obviously, as we joked in the beginning, you have all the passwords. I think we have each other's passwords. I don't think we have any passwords secret from each other.
Right.
Matter of fact, I don't think we've ever had any passwords that we've kept from each other. I mean, we've had passwords to keep our kids off of stuff.
Right.
Stuff that we don't want them involved in for different reasons.
Correct.
But as far as our relationship and us personally, we don't keep anything from each other.
Right.
And I think that speaks to the transparency thing that you're talking about. But as you know, everybody doesn't think the way we think.
Oh, I know.
And that's okay. I'm always curious in the why behind it. Because to me, it's like a no-brainer. Like you said, if we're just dating and we weren't married, okay, I might have a password on my phone. We're not married. I mean, you're not going to have full access to me unless we're married.
Right.
To my whole world. And I think that's a thought. Like,
I mean, that's fair. I get it. Unless you're one of these perpetual daters. Like, you're just dating forever and you're not really committing to marriage with anyone.
Okay.
Let's just say you're like living with someone for 3, 4, 5 years, but you're still holding back on passwords and stuff like that. Like, that's a little bit of a red flag for me.
I hear you, but I think the biggest question, why aren't you married?
Well,
that's the biggest question. Okay, pause on the phone thing. You've been together 4 or 5 years. You're not even married.
Yes.
So we got bigger fish to fry.
Well, that's a whole other podcast that we've actually, we've actually spoken about. But I mean,
but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And the reason I say it that way is because, like, once you get married, again, it's the two becoming one flesh.
It should be full access.
Full access. Like, you can't have one if there's still two.
Right.
It doesn't go together.
Right.
So, again, it sparks the question. Okay, specifically, I want to say married couples. I want to kind of shift this to the married couples. And that's, hey, listen, guys, if you're not married, still listen, because there's going to be some good stuff we're going to talk about. This is not discounting you.
Right.
This is going to come helpful when you do get married.
Right.
Like what it's supposed to look like, in my opinion. So I want to do some research on this. And I'm looking for things that can align with the direction that we're going.
With biblical truth?
Of course.
Okay.
Because that's everything for me, and for us. It has to align with God's word. Very difficult to find stuff on passwords in marriage. At least I didn't find anything that really stood out to me, I should say. Very limited.
Wow.
So I went mainstream. I went psychology route.
You mean secular?
Psychology. I went toward the psychology.
Okay.
And I know some people are like, oh, I'm out right now. I don't hear nothing about psychology. But I would encourage you to listen because this is some pretty interesting stuff. Because I always like to see how the other half lives. To kind of get a big, again, a kind of a gauge on what's going on in the world. So I found this article here, and it's on psychologycorner.com. psychologycorner.com. Flee from that corner. No, just joking. And the article was why you shouldn't share your passwords with your partner.
Why you shouldn't?
Yeah, why you shouldn't. Because I want to know what they got to say. Like, what's their big warning that they're encouraging people, don't be sharing your password because it is not good. And up at the top here, it's got a picture that says password, none of your business, honey.
What?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know. If I'm in a relationship and someone comes out of the gate saying, hey, it's none of your business, I don't think I need to be in that relationship.
I don't think I'd want to. No.
Exactly. Like, okay, where are we going with this? So one of the points that it shares down below, it says, in a loving, mature, and respectful relationship, you shouldn't have to constantly prove your trustworthiness or innocence. Right?
Okay.
And I see where they're going with it. Right? Because if you're in a mature relationship, we shouldn't be in that place where we feel like we're constantly having to prove our innocence to someone. However, if I have a password on my phone or my device and you can't gain access to that, does that foster trust?
Nope.
And the question I would have is why? Why would that response or that behavior foster mistrust, in your opinion?
Because something's hidden.
Okay.
In essence, like you're keeping something from that other person.
And
we're talking about strictly marriage right now.
Yeah, strictly marriage.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I think about Adam and Eve in the garden, where they were naked and unashamed. They had no coverings, no barriers, nothing keeping them from seeing everything about the other person.
Fully open, honest, and transparent.
100%.
Yes.
So when two become one, i.e. marriage, I feel like that's kind of the open door for, okay, here's all of me. I wouldn't understand why there's secrets or privacy or whatever you want to call it. People they like to put different labels on it,
right,
to try and justify the behavior. Bottom line, I think when two become one, they truly have to become one in every area of the marriage.
And
call me crazy.
No, I agree with it. A part down here that's highlighted, it says that in doing this, that's treating your partner as a suspect all the time.
What is? In doing what?
Having the person always feel like they need to justify their innocence.
But is it really justifying their innocence if you're just like sharing passwords? I would go ahead.
Well, no, the point that I'm making is that by having the password on there fosters a level of mistrust. Because again, like you're keeping something hidden.
Right.
So if you don't feel like you got to hide anything or show your innocence, be open, honest, and transparent.
You have nothing to hide.
The way to do this, give them the password.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have anything to hide, just give them the password. What's the big deal?
Doesn't make sense.
That fosters trust, in my opinion. Now, if you don't feel comfortable giving your spouse the password, again, you got some bigger issues happening here. Like, really, why wouldn't you trust your spouse?
Right.
You married this person, promise to spend the rest of your life with this person till death do you part. But this is the thing you're going to hang your hat on? This is what you're going to, go fall on your sword for?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I can't wrap my brain around that.
No, it just reminds me of the Why Did I Get Married 2? The second movie. The Tyler Perry movies. But there was a part there where...
You mean before they got all crazy?
Yeah.
Because this last Tyler Perry movie, whoa, don't watch it, guys.
Yeah,
That's in my opinion. It's too... It went way...
Yeah, no.
We had to shut it off because it was crazy.
this Why Did I Get Married Too? There's a couple there that the wife is constantly trying to get the password of her husband, and he won't give her his password.
Is that Marcus?
Yes.
Marcus.
He will not give her his password.
Hmm.
And she is losing her ever-loving mind
Yeah.
because she feels that,
Well, he's been untrustworthy in the past.
well, he
which-
kind of has, yes. So and that adds to it, right? Like, you've done shady stuff in the past, and now you have a password and you won't share it with your wife. That's a problem.
Mm.
So yes, not helping in the trust department.
Not at all. And again, you want to foster trust in your marriage and relationship. Like even before you get married, you should be doing things that fosters trust
Right.
and commitment in your relationship. That little behavior there goes against what you're trying to do. It's almost like a weak point in the
Right.
trust pillar, if you will. You have something else you want to say on that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The next point down. I read this one, babe, and I about fell over. Because, it didn't make sense. And guys, again, we're looking at this from a point of marriage.
Right. And this
Right.
is all the things you should not do in marriage.
Reasons why you shouldn't. Yeah.
No.
Oh, I misunderstand what you're saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. The reason why we're sharing this list is because it's pretty comical. Because what they're sharing is not going to help you in marriage. So it's almost like the opposite list of what would help you.
Right. The point is, it says romantic relationships, hold yourself on this one, shouldn't come with a share everything about you clause. In essence, they're saying you shouldn't come into marriage and share everything with your spouse.
Okay. Obviously, that's crazy talk.
Mm.
Especially when we come from a biblical perspective.
Okay.
Again, to become one,
Mm.
that completely goes against that.
Right.
The Bible says a house divided will not stand, right?
Right.
That was Jesus talking.
Mm-hmm.
There's clearly going to be a division here if you're not sharing everything about you with the other person.
I do want to say, because obviously once you get married, it's not like you guys sit down and have 12 hours of interrogation and we're going to start from the moment that you were born up until today and go through every moment, every instance, every picture. That's not what we're talking about.
Mm-mm.
What we are saying is that as stuff comes up and you guys are doing life together, you're doing marriage together, and these things come up, you're meant to share them with one another.
Correct.
Because again, it's going to give a spouse an understanding who you are
Well,
and what you've been through.
Again, it establishes security in the relationship.
Well, that's where trust comes in. The more that you know someone, right, the more you guys become one, the more trust that fosters in your relationship.
Yes.
Again, when you pull back and you do something that breaks that trust, you're going in an opposite direction.
Hmm.
So that whole idea of like, there needs to be a clause where we don't have to share everything. I know what they're trying to do there, right? But at the end of the day, if you want to have a godly marriage and you want to walk this out the way that God calls you to, you're going to be open, honest, and transparent with each other.
Well, think about it. A couple sitting having a conversation over nice dinner, and they're talking about, friendship, something from the past or whatever, and all of a sudden they hit a point where one or the other is like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Mm.
What does the other person think in that moment? Like, what would you think if we're having a conversation and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Let's move on to a different topic. What happens in your mind?
Well, I'm going to want to know why. Now you've created a concern.
Right.
Like, okay, what is it specifically that has happened that's making you feel that way or making you respond that way?
Right.
I'm going to want to know. It's going to spark interest inside me.
And then if I keep saying, yeah, I'm not really ready to share that, that's something that is private and I need to keep to myself.
It's going to have the potential to cause division in our intimacy.
It's
in our
trust.
trust.
Yeah.
It will. And again, I think that's why God's love is so important in these moments, in these situations. You know, God says, I'll never leave you, I'll never forsake you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think, again, what God's telling us within that is that God knows every single thing about us. Like, think about this. The closest relationship we have with anyone is meant to be with God and himself. Because he knows us, again, from the day we were born, from the moment, even before we were in our mother's womb, he knew us, the Bible tells us.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows all the way to the ends of our days. And he chooses to love us, or good, or bad, and indifferent. He accepts us. Once you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're accepted by God, right?
So you're saying the marriage relationship should be a reflection
It
of
should
that.
be a reflection. Listen, none of us are perfect. Everybody's got history,
Right.
but it's part of our history. It's
And
not
what
part of our present,
right.
but some of that stuff does have an effect on shaping us
Mm-hmm.
into the person that we are.
The person that like we chose each other for a reason.
And that's the key.
And honestly, this is going to build your intimacy when you're able to open up
Mhm.
to your spouse about things that in the past maybe you don't feel so good about.
Mhm.
It builds intimacy.
Well, it does. Again, when you feel accepted and loved.
Well, yes.
Like, I can think about times in our relationship where you might have shared something with me like, yeah, that wasn't real cool. You know what I mean? For whatever reason. But I still love you. Like, it doesn't change the way that I feel about
Right.
you. I still choose you.
Yeah, we
I don't regret marrying you just because you had something that's happened in your past. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
for
when we
sure.
got married and I said I do, I brought all of you. I accepted all of you from that point forward.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
And again, that builds commitment.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember early on in our relationship before we got married
Mm-hmm.
that you shared some things with me about your past that I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
It gave me pause. And we were just dating at this point. A couple months in.
Mhm.
It gave me pause. And it took me a minute to really like digest it, process it, and then make a decision.
Mhm.
Do I continue in this relationship or do I bolt out?
Right.
And thankfully, we're still together after 17 years. So it was things that happened in your past. And that's what I had to really understand. It didn't happen with me.
Right.
Things that happen in your past.
Mhm.
Everybody, like you said, everybody's got some stuff.
Mhm.
That's why we need Jesus. So honestly, if you're not ready for this level of commitment in a relationship, in a marriage relationship,
Probably
if-
should get
if-
married.
yeah, probably shouldn't get married if this is an issue for you.
So the next point on the list. Now we've been talking. I forgot what the topic was.
Partners have the right to keep certain things to themselves.
No, the point that I was going to say is that why you shouldn't share your passwords with your partner.
Oh, okay.
That was the article. I wanted to go up and just reiterate that.
Yes.
So go ahead and say the point again.
That was the point. Partners have the right to keep certain things to themselves. The right to privacy is not suspended when one's relationship status changes from single to into a relationship or married.
All right. I'm calling shenanigans on this one because that don't even make sense in my brain.
It doesn't make
Because
sense.
if you get married, you're not the same as when you were single.
You are no longer an independent person.
You're not.
You are now interdependent with one another.
And again, that's why you got to be careful of some of this stuff and the information you get from the world.
From the internet.
From the world. Because, and I know we're tongue-in-cheek joking about this, but it's pretty important, right? Because everybody doesn't think the way you think, right?
Mm.
And the fact that someone says, okay, I'm going to move from being a single person to now be in a married relationship, and it's the same.
Mm.
Like, you can't be different and be the same at the same time. It does not work.
Right.
Anytime you find someone that's in a married relationship and still trying to be single, still trying to do single things. Like I said before, if you're single and you got a password on your phone, that's fine, man. It's you. You're single. Guard your stuff.
Do you, boo?
But when you become married and you still want to keep that mindset, how do you think that's going to work?
Right.
Because you're moving from singleness to married.
Mm-hmm.
It does not work in marriage.
It does not.
It's not all about you anymore. Now it's about us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Unity, openness, transparency.
The more you share, the closer you get, the deeper your intimacy gets.
Mhm. Yeah, and
That's
just
the
be honest.
truth.
Let's be honest, guys. And that whole thing that you shared in the Bible, that Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Naked.
Yes.
You want to talk about there was no privacy. So there was no privacy.
And
You
that
didn't
was
need to be private.
paradise. That's what was
Exactly.
described as paradise.
Yes, and that's my point. You didn't need privacy. That was God's design
Mm-hmm.
for marriage.
Right.
That we wouldn't keep anything from each other. We were fully open and exposed to one another. We didn't
Mhm.
need to hide anything.
Correct.
Sin is what brought hiding, right? And shame and
Right.
guilt,
Mm-hmm.
where you felt like I shouldn't share or I couldn't care or share because it was going to cause a division in the relationship.
Right. You got to keep
Re-
it private.
Recognize what that is,
Mhm.
right? Again, this is something that I believe that the enemy uses to keep us divided,
Absolutely.
right?
I agree.
In essence, you got to take care of you. you need to keep this separate because if they see this or they know that, they're not going to love you and accept you.
Mm.
And again, is that really the truth, or is that just the enemy trying to manipulate the situation to tear down this image of Christ and his church, which is your marriage? So the next point says, I'm sorry, baby, you got something else?
No, I have to laugh at all these points because it is legitimately the opposite of what one needs to do to have a healthy marriage.
I'll let you read it.
Partners should respect each other's privacy.
All right. What does that even mean? Okay, babe, I will say, if you're in the restroom, I'm going to knock.
Okay.
I will.
Fair.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's different. That's a private moment that people should have, right? I remember when, we had young kids and
no privacy.
Like,
you didn't have any privacy when you got small kids. Man.
I am running to try and get a private moment in the bathroom.
Just to breathe.
I need to use the bathroom. And even then, you would see little hands opening the door to come on in there.
Yeah, and then sit at your feet.
So, okay, like privacy for me went out the window when we decided to get married. Like, I don't see a reason to be private with you, like separate from you.
Correct.
Like we have our privacy, right? Ours, but there's no me privacy or you privacy.
Well, again, I think what happens is it could foster mistrust because it leaves the door open for doubt and questions to come into play.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we one in this area? Why do you need to keep these things separate? And again, if you can't talk to each other about it and you can't explain, i.e., I'll just go with the restroom thing. Hey, you know what? It would just help me feel comfortable. Like, that's gonna sound crazy, to be in the restroom by myself. Like, I'd just like to go to the restroom by myself, and I can explain that to you, and that makes sense for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask me the question, I'm like,
trust me, I don't need to go in the restroom.
That's not
with
the point.
you.
It's the only thing I can think of that like people may be able to relate to. But
right.
If you ask me a question and I can't answer it, well, that's just the way it is.
What do you mean?
If you were asking me something about not being like, I want to keep something private, like my computer. Hey, I want to see the password in your computer. No. What do you mean no? Well, I don't think you need it. There's anything to do with you there. You don't need the password.
Yeah.
Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, there's like little red flags.
I can't explain to you what my reasoning is behind it. It's just, we're not going to go there. It's not what we're going to do.
Again, it hinders the intimacy growth in your relationship. It just does.
So, and with that being said as well, I guess this could come up since we talked about that, because some people do have like work computers and that kind of stuff. And maybe someone is in a field where their company requires everything to be locked down and shut up.
Confidential.
You get what I'm saying? So there is a little bit in that area, but I could come home and show you, hey, babe, this is the stipulations that my company has put in place for this particular reason. And this is why this is required. And we can have that conversation. We can talk about it.
Absolutely. And you know what? Respectfully, we could have the conversation. And if you're not doing anything that is causing me to like perk up, like what's really happening here, then they're really like that inclination of wanting to go search through your stuff won't be there at all.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because yes. But I also believe, and we've talked about this in the past, I'm confident that the Holy Spirit brings things that are done in the darkness into the light.
Oh, 100%.
And that there is discernment and an awareness when things aren't right in alignment with God's design and plan. Something stirs in your spirit. You just know it.
That something's not right.
Right? Yeah. And if you get that feeling, you're going to want to figure out what the heck it is, which is going to cause you to want to start looking for those things. And again, that's why it's important to be an open book.
Right.
If you came to me and said, babe, is it okay if I look at your phone? My response is, absolutely, here. Hold on 1 second.
Right.
And you posted that you can't see. I'm literally like doing stuff on my phone to kind of do whatever that you don't know.
Right. Before you hand it over.
I'm pausing and doing something.
Right.
That doesn't breed trust.
Right.
My thing is, flip it. Here you go.
Yep.
Without question. Or even if I'm in the middle of something, hold on just 1 second, babe. And I'm very intentional. I just have to, and I let you see what I'm doing. I just need to close this out real quick and you can have it. You get what I'm saying? I believe in being overly open and transparent if that's even possible.
Well,
Because
that's
I
good.
don't want any question. I don't want any thread of mistrust in our relationship.
Correct.
That's how I safeguard our trust. You know what I mean?
I think the Bible describes that as being above reproach.
Is that what it is?
So nobody can point the finger,
I like it.
in essence, right? Nobody can. There's nothing questionable,
Of course. I don't want anything questionable in our
right?
relationship.
And I feel like that's what's built great trust in our relationship throughout the years, because we've never done that with each other.
No.
And we were very intentional
From day one.
Yeah. About not doing that, because we never wanted to have that mistrust.
Well, and this is another caveat to that, is like, because we both came from relationships with mistrust, where trust had been broken.
Correct.
On all parties. And coming into this relationship, and that's why you had pause. When I came into this relationship, I came as an open book. I wanted you to know everything about me, that nothing could be brought to the surface that one day would cause pause and question.
Right.
Everything that I could remember anyway. I mean, because there's still been stuff in the 17 years like, I didn't remember that, but here, let me tell you about it.
Right.
But I didn't want to leave the door open for the enemy to use as a tactic to destroy our marriage.
Right.
So I laid it all out, the good, the bad, the ugly, and said, this is me. If you choose to move forward with me, I will be all in, right? We're not going to have passwords. We're not going to keep things from each other. This is all going to be a we. How's that sound?
Right.
You know, and it worked for both of us, and it's continued to work for us. And that's the principles that we have put in place. Now, the last point is that password sharing behaviors can be controlling. Password sharing behaviors can be controlling.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, everybody's opinion.
But why would it be controlling? Why would it be controlling? Or why would people think
I mean, people
that
think
is
that. Yeah. I mean,
so, yeah, I mean, it's not really controlling. It's, again, what are you controlling if you're handing it over? If both parties are open and honest and transparent, and you have nothing that's separating between you two, there's no control there. I see it more as a sign of respect. We're respecting one another. And again, this is a way to safeguard whatever activity that we're having under our covering, to make sure we don't leave an opening for the enemy.
I agree.
Because remember, the Bible says the enemy prowls around waiting for someone to devour. He is literally looking for opportunities to drive that wedge between a husband and a wife. Because he knows if he can take that couple down, he can take the family down. That's what he wants to do. He's not satisfied with just taking the couple out.
Yeah.
He wants to take out the entire family. And it's the little things, because, guys, he is so crafty.